Welcome to the Voice of Retail. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc. This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. On this snapshot episode, we meet Robert Tass, Chief Growth Officer for 1-800-Flowers. We talk about his rich background in data, marketing, including a stint in consulting as a partner with McKinsey, and now putting those skills to use, building a brand by merging performance marketing, content, and modern communication strategies.
Being transparent with your customer, being fully open in how you communicate with them about where you are and what you're doing. You know, for example, we started a weekly communication to our customer base around things we were doing to implement COVID protocols.
Let's listen in. Robert, welcome to the Voice of Retail podcast. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fabulous, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining me. We were just talking off mic. We have something in common. We're both Canadian, as it turns out. So that's a lot of fun. Aside from that, let's jump right in and tell me about yourself, your background, your journey, and about 1-800-Flowers. Looks like you've got both tech and you've got some consulting in the background. And I guess Chief Growth Officer must be a fun term at a flower place. It's a double meaning. But tell me all about it.
It is. It's been an amazing journey. I mean, an amazing journey during a pandemic. I've been at 1-800-Flowers just around 11 months and joined a month before the pandemic. And, you know, my remit is really to help drive our go-to-market strategies across our enterprise of brands. For those that don't know, 1-800-Flowers Inc. is a portfolio of gifting solutions from 1-800-Flowers, which everybody kind of knows that brand, to Harry and David in our food business, to Wolferman's Muffins, to Stockyard steaks and protein products, to Amazing Cheryl's Cookies, which are some of the most delicious cookies you'll ever have, to a recent acquisition we just did in Personalization Mall, to Sherry's Berries, to 1-800 Baskets, the Popcorn Factory, Simply Chocolate. All of our portfolio is about helping people express themselves, connect, and celebrate their loved ones.
Wow. Initially I had no idea, but I was, what is it, like something like 15 brands, right, underneath the kind of umbrella?
Yeah, it's just a little bit under, but yeah, I mean, we've got an amazing portfolio of products that bring smiles to people's faces, candidly.
Yeah. And what's your role involved? What do you do? What do you focus on? Where do you spend your time?
Yeah, my remit is really about driving our go-to-market strategy across those portfolio of brands. So I have marketing, I have analytics, and then I also own corporate strategy. You know, the company has been around for a while, has a 40-year history. Yeah. Where it started off as a flower shop on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And the company has just constantly innovated in digital, in the way it goes to market, in retail, e-commerce. It's really become where e-commerce is our primary business now. Our platform of our portfolios is really bringing leverage to the business to be able to scale. And my job is to continue that acceleration and work with all our brand partners and make sure that we represent it to our customer base and expand our customer base.
Now, you made the jump from consulting to being on the front lines to being an operator. How have you found that transition?
Yeah, you know, I was not a lifelong consultant by any stretch, but I did have a almost 4-year run at McKinsey. I was a partner in their marketing practice. And really, I think I've always been an operator at heart. I had previous senior roles at JP Morgan Chase. I had my own media company. I spent a lot of time in the digital space. I'm really a digital guy that became a marketing guy and an operator that way. And I think the transition at McKinsey was really interesting to go tell people what to do and give them assessments of what they could do better. And I really missed the front line, candidly. Yeah. So coming back and getting introduced to the 1-800-Flowers team really got my juices flowing, because I think there's a ton of opportunities of what I'm good at, which is really data-driven, brand building, performance marketing, and really helping us figure out how to scale the business.
So you couldn't resist the pull back over to the operator side. It's pretty intoxicating, so to speak, and I'm sure it's been a lot, just a pile of fun and learnings over the past year and looking forward. Which brings me to the 2 starts and 1 stop question. So the form for this CommerceNext snapshot interview is based on your experience cumulatively, but importantly, of course, in the COVID era and looking forward. 2 things that listeners should start doing, and then 1 thing that maybe you stopped, maybe it wasn't working, or that you see other people doing and they should probably maybe do less of? Give me your sense of the answer to those kind of questions.
Yeah, it's been an interesting a road, certainly recently, obviously, working through a pandemic. But I think even in my consulting days, and part of why I went to consulting is I really wanted to get exposure to a lot of the, frontline consumer companies, some of the largest brands in the world. And I think that COVID really hit home with me, and for even our business very specifically, I think the big thing that we switched was we had an amazing opportunity to actually engage our customer. So moving from that promotional selling world to really building experiences and content to help people navigate this crazy stuff, right? And helping people stay connected with their families. And that means not just saying, hey, buy a product, but actually, hey, how do you do a Zoom event? How do you do a Zoom birthday party? How do you stay connected to your loved ones? How do you reach out? How do you do those things? So we actually invested pretty heavily into content to really drive the way we were serving our customer and focus less on the product side and more on helping people express themselves and connect in this hard time where we were all learning how to get through it. And I think that was a big unlock for us. It's really shifted our brand perception. It's shifted how our customers are engaging with us now, and especially around big occasions where they are, engaging with us and certainly engaging with our products. But I think that moving from that transactional relationship to a more deepened relationship has really been an unlock for us. So I think engagement is probably number one on my list.
Well, let me ask you a question about that. I mean, historically, it's been, and you're very obviously very metrics driven and performance oriented. It's historically been a bit challenging to convince or to understand the impact of content marketing and brand building on, direct to consumer or performance brands. How did you look at that? How did you evaluate that impact?
Of course, metrics are a key leading indicator for us. And interestingly enough, what we saw was that the people that actually engaged with our content became our best customers. So it wasn't a really hard sell, candidly. And as we continue to build upon that and understand those different trigger levels. So one of the things we did, for example, at Thanksgiving is we had a virtual live event on Facebook that had thousands of people show up. And being able to use those kind of mediums to engage our consumer in a dialogue around being grateful and celebrating the holidays and best practices around that and how to be safe it's just taking our brands to a different level and a different level of engagement. And we're seeing it in our traffic, we're seeing it in our sales, and we're seeing it across the board. And then the second piece, which is kind of connected, but I think worth calling out is, I think the one thing that I've seen and observed in my career and certainly with COVID is that being transparent with your customer, being fully open in how you communicate with them about where you are and what you're doing. For example, we started a weekly communication to our customer base around things we were doing to implement COVID protocols. We started to transparently, more aggressively communicate on inventory and product availability and delivery and things like that normally is in the customer service back office kind of place. Yeah. We decided to push that to the front because we believe that being transparent to our customer was really important. But at this day and age, and then going through COVID, we just thought it was important to give all the information. So if you had to have something there and for whatever reason that product was back ordered or not available, we wanted you to know it. And we believe that transparent communication is kind of a new thing that is a little bit different than we're seeing other brands maybe do that way and bringing that to the forefront. And I think that's just honestly a BAU thing now in our culture of really saying how we handle our customer experience is about making sure that we can deliver that smile for you.
Well, and it's another great one because someone in the room would be saying, yeah, but our conversion rates are going to go down if we say there may be a delay. But from what you're explaining, I think we're at a new place where what your experience is, customers take that and just bring it into the brand. Like it's not an iterative a decision. It's a brand building and better for customers at the end of the 100%. Day. Yeah.
And I think what we saw is that people, one, like our brands a lot, obviously, but But having that authenticity of a that's really what a relationship is, right? Like that's where we're in this together. And, there was a lot of, it probably still is, some unknowns with, the pandemic and supply chains and delivery. And you saw the news on UPS and FedEx challenges over the holidays. And I think just being candid with your customer is the kind of relationships that you want in life in general. So for us, bringing that forward, like you said, from just an old school way is like, wait a minute, what are we doing? And then as it started to go out there and we got really good feedback, it just became, wow, just makes a ton of sense. Both on the engagement side, the transparency side, and communication side. And those sound so obvious in some way, but
in hindsight, sure they do.
It's a culture shift in how you measure and how you value that interaction, which I think is going to help us for years, candidly, as we move forward. Yeah,
it's funny. Sometimes when you do these things and you look at them in hindsight and why weren't we doing this all the time? But then, that's not, it's somewhat in some ways not fair because it's backwards looking. We did it now and we're moving forward and it's wonderful kind of thing.
That's right.
Good transition to, okay, so what have you stopped doing or learned that you're doing less based on the current environment and what you think of the future, or maybe even what you observe other online marketers doing that you say, well, maybe you shouldn't do that so much because it may not be effective anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as I thought about this question and sort of trying to be constructive and helpful, I think that what we're trying to do and where I think that we're evolving and continue to get better at is one size does not fit all. We live in a world today where we have amazing access to data, and as marketers, we have to use it, and we've got to stop thinking that one campaign fits everybody. And we're really trying to focus on audiences and customer needs. And we need to recognize that there are differences. And we're fortunate in our business where we get a lot of fabulous signals. So, when you want to celebrate someone's birthday, I kind of know that. But actually, I know a little bit more, and I want to be able to be more thoughtful of what I might, introduce to you in a thoughtful way and how I communicate to you, and depending on your demographics, depending on your purchase history and things like that. So I think what we want to stop doing is the one size fits all and hope that it just kind of catches everybody and that's a good approach. I think what we want to be is a lot more prescriptive in our audience approach and being data driven and something that I'm very, very passionate about. Being segment driven is something that I've seen and done a lot in my career, and we're doing it now. And really being able to deliver the right experience to the right person at the right time.
Oh, fantastic. All right. So you're on the virtual stage at CommerceNext. What are you going to be talking about?
Yeah, I think it's a continuation of that, of bringing data-driven marketing to video television. We partnered with Simulmedia as one of our key partners on Harry and David, specifically at Mother's Day, and have been working with them now throughout the year of really applying our data to our video strategy. And I've seen great success and been fortunate to work with the Simul team who've done a fabulous job.
Well, fantastic. Well, I'll be looking forward to tuning in. There's links in the show notes to your the time of your session and to register and to learn more. So for now, snapshot interview. Robert, thanks for joining me on the Voice of Retail podcast, and hopefully get you back on the mic a little later in the year and have a longer discussion about how the year is unfolding for you. It's such a rich background. I'm sure everyone would really appreciate it. So as I said, for now, thanks for joining me and have a wonderful and safe week.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Today's podcast is part of an ongoing series of CommerceNext episodes that will feature some of the fantastic speakers taking the virtual stage January 20th, 27th, and February 3rd with snapshot insights into how they dealt with the online and e-commerce world in their first year of the COVID era and lessons learned for the future. You can learn more and register for CommerceNext at CommerceNext.com. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of The Voice of Retail. Be sure and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on the latest episodes, industry news, and all the insights. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a rating and review, as it really helps us grow so that we can continue to get amazing guests on the show. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, president of LeBlanc Company Inc. And if you are looking for more content or want to chat, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at meleblanc.co. Until next time, stay safe and have a great week.